All right. Welcome back to what is actually the first WDL radio of the fall 2017 season. We heard your cries and we are here to deliver. Joining me for this special occasion is my partner in crime, Mr. Altstab, as well as the commissioner of the WDL, Ralphus. We've all been
Me.
kind of busy this season, so we haven't really had a chance to do our usual kind of weekly broadcast. So tonight we're going to do our best to recap the regular season, and then move into some really exciting playoff matches. So let's jump into this shit. You got anything you
Yeah.
want to say before we start, Ralph? You look like you're kind of
Oh,
antsy over there.
I'm just excited, man. I mean,
Oh
just
yeah,
that lead in you're talking about. We're on the verge of the playoffs tomorrow
we
night. We
are.
got two games, a double header. Two teams survive, two go home, two already went home, two are waiting. A second eight-team season. I mean, the WDL. Where can you get this kind of excitement in Doom, people? You just can't. You can't get it anywhere else. World Doom League, doomleague.org, at Doom League on Twitter. Anyway, yeah, I'm excited. That's good.
Yeah, so a second eight-team season. I mean, that kind of seemed like for a while, we took kind of a little bit of a break between last season and this season, so it seemed like maybe a bit of a stretch to get eight teams, but we pulled it off. And in the process, we got a lot of new players. I mean, new in the sense that they haven't played in the WDL before. So,
Hmm.
I mean, we can go right down the list. We got War Torn, Our
Yeah,
Hero, Razor, Unknown, Skull Rush, Cartel, Zoltar, Infer, and I don't
yep,
think, yeah, I think Decay is probably a first time sign up. So,
yep.
I mean, I thought it was awesome to continue the 18. I mean, you don't want to go back to six teams. So
No, it's
it's
really
been cool
hard.
to see.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to ever
Yeah.
try and roll back to six teams after the experience of eight. You know, a lot more. I think we really get to see the benefits of the auction draft when we move up to eight teams because
Mm.
the talent gets a lot more evenly distributed. A lot of great games this season between teams of all levels, and like you said, that list of players very impressive. I would even if I could I take a moment to elaborate on a couple of those
Yeah,
players.
please do.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, so two of those. Well, actually, we didn't mention Monster Rob, but Monster Rob early in the season doing really well for us.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we had to make a change because Solar is just an excellent player and he became available. So big props to Monster Rob, but also Skull Rush. What a surprise for the Superchargers. I picked him up with my draft strategy. I know I went all in on J Warrior. It was going to be hard to get a player that was, a capable third in our league for $1. And I have no doubt that even without Solar, if we had played Skull Rush all 5 weeks, he's the man. And I trust him. He's a great player. And if he keeps playing, he will only get better. One of the Brazilian wonders of the WDL, along with Infer, another Brazilian wonder who I learned about this season. Excellent guy to play with. Um, just a really good personality and good dude. And I mean, I could talk about everyone on this list. I pretty much like all of them. But the other person I will mention is Wartorn. Was happy to see him play this season. Um, I got to meet him in person, unfortunately, at Demon Sphere's funeral, and we got to hang out afterwards. So it was unfortunate that that's how we came together. But he's a great guy, and he did a very capable job for Hype. And I think if he comes back as well, he could definitely be a very strong player for teams. So I won't take up the whole time. You guys can talk too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I met War Torn with you when we were down there, and then I knew nothing about him Doom wise, but he seemed to have some skills. I think he played right a long time ago, but never in the IDL. I don't know,
No.
right?
Nope,
It's his
he
first
never
taste of
played in
competitive.
IDL.
Yeah, so it was his first taste of competitive CTF, and I mean he availed himself pretty good. I mean Pero Down just came out with his week one highlight video, and Warthorn made the cut, and I don't know. Yeah, I think he looked good, And Decay looked good.
Oh, Decay, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I gotta say, in ancient history, I didn't always see eye to eye with Decay, but one thing I'll never take away from the dude, he played really great this season. Even though, Decay and Wartorn were both fighting for that third spot on hype, they both played great. I think that both of them deserve a full season in that role for their teams, and I think both would uh, easily make a team a contender over the course of a season next time around because you could just see that they were getting better as they went along. And it's not. I don't think either of them are new to competitive gaming, but in this league environment, the teams are pretty good. So I thought that they both did very well, and they rose up to the challenge. So kudos to both of them. Yep.
Yeah, they were good for hype. And then you have two guys that are on playoff teams, right? You got Solar, who we mentioned, and Solar's just awesome. I love Solar. I played with him in the Z-Game and CTF season before this, and we went to the finals together. And then on BST, the number 1 seeded team, did they take you guys over? I believe they did, right? Going into the playoffs, number 1 seeded team.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut you off for a second
I
because
see it.
yeah, you going robot. But why don't you talk a little bit for a second, Zach? You've been pretty
Yeah.
quiet on this.
So, if you look at my team, I mean, going into the draft, I mean, we talked about these strategies before. But I kind of felt like one thing that I didn't do too often was draft people that maybe were new or they weren't really they hadn't really broken out and had a shot in the league before. I always had like good fourths. Like the way I discovered Rude actually was he was a fourth on my team years ago. Dranzer was a fourth on my team. I mean, lots of people have come through, but I never really had a team full of people that. I mean, our hero had been to a Master Bowl years ago, but he kind of dropped out of Doom. And he hadn't played in the WDL before. Unknown's been around forever, but he's never played in the IDL or the WDL. So I thought it was a really cool opportunity to, even though we didn't win any games, our first couple weeks were rough, but uh, as kind of dejected as you can get, those guys, they just wanted to learn, they wanted to win, and I mean, we practiced. I would say that we probably practiced the most out of anybody. I mean, every night they were there, and I got home. I get home late, and every night, unknown would wake up at 7 in the morning, and we would practice for like 2 hours. I mean, those guys are awesome, and Hero had some really really amazing games. Unknown had some really good games. We couldn't. We had our moments. We just couldn't like pull off a win, but I gotta give a lot of credit to those guys because these seasons when you spend all this time and you don't win games, they're kind of rough. But I mean, I couldn't have asked for like two cooler guys that just they just wanted to win. They didn't give up, and I think that I think that goes a long way when it comes to enjoying a season. I mean, I'd much rather lose every game and play with guys that want to improve and want to get better than
Mhm.
draft a bunch of people that just show up for the game and don't really practice and. So I'm glad that they got a chance to play. I mean, they played in almost every game. So I'm glad they got a chance to play, and they both told me they're going to come back next season.
Cool.
So
Great.
yeah, so I was happy with them.
Yeah. I mean, going down that list further,
Can I
Razor.
jump in? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, one of my favorite seasons was with Devastation and Ding Dang and Hex. And that was one of my seasons that didn't go so well. I think we got one win or something, if that. But it was, I don't know, one of the greatest seasons for me, fun wise and stuff, because like Ding Dang was one of those players who was kind of like this new guy, but up and coming, and he just wanted to work. He just wanted to practice and become as good as he could. And Dev would kind of school him up and stuff. So it was just a real great season. Seems like very much in the vein of kind of what you guys went through this year. So like I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, also before I went robot, I was going to mention Cartel. I don't know if you guys caught that, but I just want to say that
Yeah.
he is on the number one team in the league right now, going into the playoffs, and he's destroying people. Just really looks good.
He's got really good aim, but a lot of people from Zandronum, I feel like they have really good aim, but maybe the experience of playing against a lot of people isn't there. But he's got both. Like he really knows what he's doing when he's either like defending or playing mid. I haven't really seen him run much, but playing against him is really difficult. Like it's a lot more than just aiming. It's a mind game. So I think he's really good, and I hope he sticks around. And you're right. I mean, he's on the number one seeded team. So
and if you think of it, right, this season, how many players, or I mean, how many teams do we have that are just completely, like, I would say, unrecognizable? If you went 2 seasons, 3 seasons back, right, and then looked at the teams right now, it's like, I mean, you got TPT with 3 guys that hadn't played previously, like except for Despero last season, right? Razor, another guy who no stranger to competitive like play with like scrims and stuff on Xandro, but he's been really good. And Ty hadn't been around for a while. Then you got Solar and everybody has somebody on their team like that.
Don't forget Myonic Donut. He only made his
Amazing.
one appearance there, but he came into that game with something to prove in week 4.
He
against SXP, and
incredible.
He blew the socks off of everyone watching the game. I mean, nobody. I mean, we just didn't expect him to do what he did, and it was really good. He played really awesome. So yeah, I mean, you're right. There's one thing that we looked at a couple of years ago, but we haven't really looked at it since, was turnover in the league. There actually is a decent amount of it, but it always gets replenished by fresh players, and in some cases maybe better players. I don't want to disparage older players, but I feel like the league is always getting better, and the skill level is rising slowly, like the floor. And it's really interesting to see, especially as we moved into 8 teams, where these guys become a lot more valuable and more important parts of their teams. Dranzer, just a couple seasons ago, he was barely a 4th, and then he got a lot better, to his credit. I mean, he just got a lot better, and he definitely was team worthy then. But in the new environment, I mean, Dranzer is a 2nd on a team because the talent is just that much more spread out, and that makes the league more exciting, in my opinion, because it one thing it does is it prevents a super team from happening, like the Water, J Warrior, K Blair. I don't think we're going to see something like that in the 8-team format again, because there's just too much competition for those top players. Where someone like I had to spring for J Warrior, it's impossible for me to find it ever get someone of even a remotely similar caliber. So it's interesting to see how teams are going to be built going into the future with 8 teams, especially with a lot of these new guys that are really talented. And I look forward to it for sure, because it's exciting and it makes interesting games and an interesting season.
If I may, I mean, who among us though wouldn't mind seeing a little more Jay Blair action? I mean, they're the power, they're the WDL power couple, man.
Yep.
But I totally agree. I never want to go back to, now that we've had 2 consecutive seasons of 8 teams, man. I don't want to go back to 6. This is the way that it should be. I mean, hell, if it was possible, I would say we should do more. I don't think right now. Maybe
we got to work towards it.
Either way, we're gonna need more captains, so it's gonna be interesting. But it's always a struggle to get them. So people just know, you gotta be open to stepping up. Somebody out there is listening right now. I'm talking to you.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up the transition of players and stuff, but I mean, look at I have just in my head just a couple like Water, Torvald, Blair,
Yes.
was up,
Zen.
all these people,
Oh
Zen,
wow. Yeah.
that have gone out. They kind of weave in between seasons, but like five big names, and I'm sure there's some that I'm forgetting, but people that all did not play this season, and then we were able to bring in
Yes.
people,
Demon Sphere.
yes,
Yeah.
and still keep it going. And I think it's just really interesting because I mean I don't know the way that the IDL was trending for a while. It was like you're never gonna get that kind of like new blood, and then it just sort of skyrocketed. And I
Mhm.
think, well, I
Yeah.
know we've talked about this before, and it's not really related to what we were talking about, but I think a lot of the attitude of the community being better is helping that too. So, um,
Also, I'll say a word for the Euros, man, that play games at 3 in the morning
oh yeah,
and that play with pings of like 200 sometimes, and that still are absolutely amazing. Like, D Sparrow, fucking, we had FSN one season that came in and just blew everybody
unknown.
away. So good. Unknown this year.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, and for trying to think of more Eastern Denzoa. Holy crap! I mean, yeah, he's
Yeah.
making a sacrifice.
Evolution last season was good too when he showed up.
Dragon every year. Yeah.
Dragon. I was
Dragon,
gonna
yeah,
say Dragon. Yeah.
Dragon, yeah,
Turska. Always.
Turiska.
Tuska.
Turiska.
The
Yeah.
the Finnish phenom.
I mean, this is called the World Doom League. It's not a. I mean,
Yeah.
it is. The majority of the players are from the USA, but that I mean, that number I feel like is getting smaller every day, like or every
Yeah.
season.
I gotta
I mean,
say, I think it's
especially
time for a European captain.
among
Yeah.
I just want to before we go into that because I want to talk about that, but um three active rostered Mexicans this season: Parandon, Dosu, and Solar.
Solar. Yeah.
Three active rostered played in majority of game Brazilians. You got Zakin, Skull Rush, and Infer. All the Europeans you mentioned. I mean, yeah, it's too bad that Dastin doesn't have a better schedule because Dastin is also a great player. But
Yes.
the only thing that constrains him to not getting play time is his limited schedule. So
He was
I would
whooping
love to
up
see.
on people in practice last night.
Yep, I would love to see the man from Morocco
The
get a better
Moroccan Thunder.
schedule. Yeah, Moroccan Thunder, baby. And yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of awesome stuff this season. What about Canadians? Who do we got on the Canadian side? Well, Dev in
Dev,
Razor,
charge, Razor,
our
um,
hero.
our
Decay, our
hero.
hero.
Decay is Canadian?
Yep,
I did not know that. Okay.
yep. So a lot of
They're
good
well.
Canadian talent
Canadians have
pool
been
right
well
now.
represented in this league. I mean, Water and Tor as well, and
Mhm.
Genova in the IDL, and
Yep, and
yeah.
Stallion in the IDL, and there's been a long history of.
Stallion was Canadian. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yep.
He
Okay.
was. Now he's Italian.
Huh.
Oh.
Anyway,
Okay.
so
So we were going to mention about the possibility of a European captain. You have some thoughts on that outside of scheduling? I mean,
well, yeah. So really, it's not
what's the
just
biggest
about.
hurdle?
Well, scheduling is the biggest hurdle for sure with the Europeans. I mean, it's a nightmare to schedule even a person on a European squad. Although some are better than others, I'll say. But even though I didn't really handle it this season, thankfully, thank you, Stab, for taking that this season. But um, I was going to actually go a little more macro with that. I'll step on that again in a second if you want to talk about European captains and your thoughts.
Oh, me?
Anyone, you be the royal you. Yeah.
Well, I think Bones brought it up, so I want to hear what he has to say.
Well, I just to me, I think you're looking for people that in general take location aside, and you're looking for people that you know can put together a team and lead them to victory. I mean, that's, about as basic as you can get. But, you're looking for a certain quality, and not everybody has it. But, I mean, outside of the scheduling issue, I mean, these Europeans manage to play in games as it is. So, the scheduling is already kind of shitty because they're on a team. Maybe they might have to sit out a game or two. But, I mean, if they're a captain, they've they've graduated to having to be there for every game. So, I mean, that's something that they would have to work out. But I mean, you look at some of these European players. I mean, they've always been. I mean, Turska. I don't know if he'd ever captain, but I mean, so, Turska, Disparel, all these guys, they're just as skilled, if not more skilled, than some of the American players. And I think they
Oh, for
have
sure.
kind of a leadership quality about them. So to me, that's what I look for. And now, mind you, I've picked some real gems as captains, but I think I've picked some good ones too. So I don't know.
I
I just
think the
I would
obvious
like to see it expand a little bit.
standout captain choice would be Dragon, in my opinion. I mean, he just has
Yeah.
True,
he
Dragon
has
too.
the
Yes.
experience. He has the experience, and I think of
He's-
all the aforementioned Europeans, when I think of personality mixed with experience, mixed with skill level, he is probably the most ready to be a WDL captain.
He ran his
Certainly-
own league, so yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I-
yeah,
I-
I'm totally
He's
with
no
Dragon.
he's no stranger to a little more responsibility. I'll jump in though. I mean, it's a huge misnomer that being a captain is this huge burden. I mean, let's be honest here, all right? To be a captain, what do you have to do? What do you really have to do more than being a starter on a team, right? Because these players that we're talking about would already be starters, right?
Right.
They would already be showing up to practices and all their games. So beyond that, you have to tell the commissioner what your team's avails are that week, and you have to show up for the draft and draft your team. That is literally it. You got to pick a home field.
And also,
I
you
think you're the
gotta
decision maker. If you're in the middle of a game, okay, and I've had
Sure,
plenty of
there's a
games where,
little added-
go ahead.
Oh, whoa.
Wow.
No, I was. I just go ahead. If you want to jump in.
I thought you
Oh,
were
I thought you were.
shooting.
I thought you were.
I thought you were. I was like, all right.
No,
No, I wasn't.
Go ahead.
No, I was about to say shit. That's why.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was like,
No.
oh.
What I was gonna say was, if shit is going sideways, and I've
Yeah.
had plenty of games like that, you gotta be able to make those decisions. And I think that's not something that's necessarily easy all the time, and it is a lot of responsibility. I mean, your team will look to you. I mean, if you make a decision and something goes wrong, I mean, ultimately, you're the one that takes the fall for that. I mean, you draft. Go ahead.
I'm just saying bare bones. Like,
oh yeah, bare bones. It's.
I mean, you literally could just not make those decisions, and then maybe you'll lose because of it.
Right.
You know what I'm
think-
saying?
There's a couple
I'm just
things.
I'm just trying to paint a rosier picture than people try to
Oh yeah.
uh, perpetualize of being like captain is it's so burdensome. It's not.
No, I don't think it is at all. I think it gets easier the more you do it, for sure. It's because here's what I've been doing this for a long time, seeing people come and go as captains, trying to convince certain people to be captains. One thing I would say is that a great player definitely does not always make a great captain. I've seen that a lot of times where some of the best players we've had are just really bad at captaining. They don't talk to their team at all. They don't like organize practice or even like talk to their team and make them motivated in any way that makes them want to play. I think that's a part of it. You got to have a little bit of a people personality. You can't be
Yep.
scared to take chances. You have to be a risk taker to some degree at the draft in the beginning. Kind of setting up your games. When you
If you wanna
started,
be-
Stab,
If you want to
when you started, you were at a skill disadvantage to most of the other captains coming in. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, for many seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a couple things I would say. Number one, being a captain made you accelerate into becoming a very good player. It accelerated your track because you were forced to. You were forced to watch your opponents, learn what they were doing better than you, try and not let them do it to you, which you did successfully against my team. We beat your ass on the map, and then in the playoffs, you beat us on it, the same map.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, thanks. Anyway,
Yeah. Thanks.
so
That was good. That was great. Yeah.
I think that if you're a mid to upper mid level player, that I'd say if you're like a second, even a lower second, you could probably go for a captain if you have the right personality and the vision to set a team up in a certain way. You have a really important part of being a captain is knowing where you can fit with other players. I would say that is a really underrated part of being a captain because I've made mistakes before. Um, and everyone has, even great captains, but knowing where you can fit with the players available to you in the draft is a key part of it. And then even picking them up on free agency and stuff and just figuring stuff out. I don't want to,
Yeah.
drone on and on here, but I
Let
don't
me.
think that being a captain is super hard. And I would
No.
actually really, I really wish some new people step up this coming season, whenever it is in the, winter at some point here. But,
I would love to see new captains
yeah,
because yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe the first time you do it, you make some mistakes, but I mean,
robot.
So yeah, we'll let him reconnect. But yeah, I think there's always room for different people to step up and captain. So I think all these new people that we have, I mean, that's just more opportunities for them. But let's kind of refocus on this season a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
And
Yeah.
and no, I mean, I think that's a really good conversation to have, and I think anyone that's watching it that wants to captain should definitely, make it a point to say so. And you know, for whatever reason, like Stab said, there's just a whole group of people that I don't want to captain. I don't want to. It doesn't, it really doesn't matter that much. And a lot of the people that don't want to captain are the ones that do it the best. So
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
always looking for more captains. So to switch back to this regular season, we had a map list with only one new map, and that was map 28. I don't think it was really highly regarded prior to playing it in week 4. I think, you know,
What's
may
up?
I? Well, in fact, like a couple of weeks before we played on it for the season, we played a fours, like 4v4 prive on it,
yeah,
and it was like a 0-0 affair, just a grind fest till the end, and it really sound like I don't think we can overstate how much people really hated this map going in and the idea of playing on it.
and now it is a home field. So, Ralph, I
Mhm.
would like to hear your thoughts because before the season began, we
Mhm.
posted the map list and map 28, like me and Stab put the map list together. So the one
Yep.
map that Stab really wanted was map 23.
Yeah.
The one map that I really wanted was map 28 because
Okay.
that was so you
So you're
talked
looking
to
for
me
an
about it.
apology? You're looking for
No,
an
no, no.
apology?
I'm just looking,
Because I want to apologize.
you
I
don't
was
have to
wrong. I
apologize. I've
told
given
you.
you shit
I'm
about
gonna do
maps.
it though.
Okay, all right.
I told you the map sucked. I thought it was gonna suck. I thought it was gonna not have good games, and I was proven very wrong.
You're
The
talking about
map
you're
is
talking about
excellent.
28, right? You're talking about
Map
28.
map 28.
Okay.
I was proven so wrong. The map is perfect for our league. I mean, it just the games on it were just tremendous. All of them pretty much. I mean, practices that I played were just super fun and it was a lot in a season that had a lot of high powered offense and a lot of scoring. It was kind of a throwback, to an old grind of just there's not that many tricks here, so just come play your best and see who the best team is this week. And
Yeah.
I really grew to appreciate that map a lot. I mean, so much so that we picked it as our home field. So yes, you made a very good call putting that in the map list. I thought it was great. Great addition.
Can I say
Well,
something?
hey, yeah, go ahead.
Well, about the map list selection process, do you want to go into that a little bit? And because we've explained it to some people wondered like, why the hell did you pick that map? But we kind of like do a thing like, week 1 we want it to be familiar, week 2, etc. Do you want to kind of expand on that and how
Yeah,
28
well,
came to be in? Yeah.
I mean, you kind of want to make week 1 sort of the warm-up map, right? I mean, you want to pick something kind of familiar, um, maybe a little fraggy. So I don't even remember what week 1 was, but so we settled on whatever map
21.
that
Demon
was.
Seas.
21. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Demon Seas,
Oh,
yeah.
also, yeah, it was a little bit of a tribute to DS, but that
A
map
little bit. It was a
is
blatant tribute.
okay,
Yeah.
right. So, that map is just it was a good warm-up map to have because I thought it really brought teams together because you really have to have coordination on that map to. And so, then week 2 maybe, you can kind of expand a little bit with some, I mean the map that we used, which number was that? It was
9.
map 9, yeah, yeah. So
Am I
that
right
one,
about that? Yeah.
yeah, that one kind of played completely differently to map 21. I felt like, um, so that was like two contrasting maps back to back, and then you get you kind of want that map in the middle that sort of balances out the schedule. And so I thought that map 21 was really good last season, and I mean that was the first time it was ever in the WDL. It was just put into the WAD, and I just thought it had really good games, and we could expand on that because map 21 kind of fell out of the rotation in private CTF and everything. So, I know some people say, "Oh, why are you repeating that map?" It's not the first time that a map's been repeated from season to season. I mean, we could have put a new map in there, but I just felt like, for me, I felt like you could kind of grow on, and I wanted that map to become more of a staple, and
Yes.
so maybe it did that, maybe it didn't, but I mean, I thought it had really good games on it. And map 28, I don't know. I mean, you look at some of the other maps that are in the WAD that you haven't used yet, like map 10. I like map 10 a lot. I think it's going to have some good games if it ever gets put in the schedule. But I can hear the screaming in the background where they're map 10. So map 28, I felt like was a map that like was never played in Prive unless it was 4v4. I mean, you had no idea what it was like 3v3. So, I mean, it was like you said, kind of a throwback map, not very tricky. I mean, some people did some tricks with rocket jumping, but I mean, you couldn't see across the map. You had this big giant fucking pole there, So I just thought it was really interesting, and I had no idea how it was going to play.
Well,
You know,
and right, we liked. Well, we discussed this when we were putting the maps together. Is that one of the weeks we wanted to be a week where we test you. This is the week where your team's ability to adapt to something completely new is tested, right?
right?
Like we throw a different thing. Like we give you a comfortable map, and we give you a map that needs a lot of communication, and we give you something completely new and see how do you adapt to that. There's
Yeah,
something
it's
here.
definitely
Yeah.
it's a tough balance.
Yeah, look at this fucked up thing. What do you do with that? Go,
Yep. Yeah,
And
that's always been the the puzzle of the schedule, trying to make the perfect schedule. And
yeah.
nobody is ever going to love every map. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot
You gotta give
someone
up on that.
listening right now that are thinking like, map 28, you guys are idiots, and map sucks. No,
I don't even want to look at WDL chat right now. Like, no
yeah,
way.
like,
Uh,
but it was a very good map, and sometimes a good map for league play is not necessarily the best map for Prive, and that's
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, the whole point of the WAD, that's why we got 32 maps in there, is to stretch the skills and abilities of all these teams and see how they can stack up against each other so that, there's not just 5 weeks of the same grind or, easily rocket jump over for 5 weeks and just crush people. there's got to be maps that play to everyone's skills, see how everyone matches up. Sometimes you get screwed on who you're playing on a schedule. That's just a fact of life. But I think, considering I didn't make the schedule this season, I was pretty happy with it, and I won't lodge any
Thanks.
complaints.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, typically when I would pick schedules, I always like to put 2 new maps in there. But like I said, I thought map 21 was I really enjoyed it last season, so I thought I would throw it in again. And
So wait, I thought map 21 was
Map
Demon
12, you mean? You mean map 12 or
12.
11?
map 12 is not, no, map
Toxic
12
Refineries
is,
2, you're talking about.
right, but that's not map 12.
So what was the other one? What was
11, right?
Whatever, what
11.
is map week 3? I thought that was map.
Oh, week 3
21?
is, no, 9. It's not 9.
Oh, well, okay, well, I've been saying map 20.
Well,
Whatever, map 9. I really enjoyed last season. So, I don't see anything really wrong with putting a map in 2 seasons in a row. I mean, fuck, when the IDL started, I mean, I don't know, it was like map 1, map 4, map 9, it was the same shit over and I don't know. But I think I thought it was a good choice, and I thought it produced really good games. That's, put it in there again. I mean, map 18 I thought was used a couple times, so. But anyway, you're right. You're never going to make everybody happy with the map list, but I thought map 28 was a good success, and then we kind of capped the season off with map 23, which is not something we saw in a while, but a grind nonetheless. So that was Stab's little choice.
Well, and I thought it fit well into the last week of the season, specifically because we were going to have some stakes, and I thought that there would be some exciting games, with shit on the line. We know that that's a map that produces like good games to watch,
And you were right. We had a playoff game last week. I mean, we didn't even really. Well, we haven't even gotten to the games yet, but I mean, Hype versus TPT was a playoff game on that map. Went to 3 rounds with 2 ties, and TPT came from the depths of.
It was actually 3 ties if you consider the 2 ties of the rounds and then the actual player tie playing.
That's true. You're right. All tied up. Tied up
and hanged.
Yeah.
Yep.
If I may.
Sorry. No, you're right. I mean, what a perfect way to end the season. I mean, nobody really knew. I mean, there were 3 teams that were still technically in the, fighting for that last playoff spot. So it was a good week.
And it's interesting. One thing I wanted to point out right before we move into talk about the games is that in regards to the maps, all 4 maps coming up this week to be played were not in the schedule this season. I don't know if that's ever happened. None of the 4 maps being played this week are not anywhere to be seen on the schedule. Some of them have been seen for years, or seasons rather. It feels like years. But next week, the number 1 and number 2 teams have maps from this season, so it'll be kind of interesting.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's like I know when the WDL first started, it was it was the old way where you pick the higher seeded team, you play on their home field over and over and over and over, and that's it. So when we decided to put in the thing where 2 teams get a chance to play on their own maps, I thought that really opened up the possibility to pick. I mean, if you look at both of the games this week, you have TPT is the 6th seed, and they're playing TKV, the 3rd seed. Now TPT picked map 2, and TKV picked map 8. I mean, those maps couldn't be any different, And I mean, what a matchup that's going to be. I mean, I don't know. I really enjoy that teams are going deep into the WAD, because I mean that's what I did. For a couple seasons as a captain, as I went and I picked we picked map 26, which I don't think anybody had played in 5-6 years or something like that. So, those are the kind of maps that I like to see, because it's sort of similar to the regular season where you said, okay, I've picked a map that your team hasn't played at all. Let's see what you have, and then this is a whole week full of you guys have never played this map. Let's see what happens. So
Now, there's a problem
really,
with that strategy, which is
well,
your
it works
team
against
hasn't played it either, and it's going you better hope that your team does better.
right.
I was just
But in
gonna
most cases, they
say.
do.
Oh, go ahead. Well, I
sorry.
mean, yeah, part of my strategy is when I'm picking, and we didn't talk about this as far as another. Well, we did bring it up, but another thing that a captain has to do, right, is try to find the right home field map. It's a very hard thing to do. I mean, you can second guess yourself and end up fucking yourself very easily. But I think, right, why pick a map that was played this season unless you dominated that map and felt like you dominated all of your opponents in practice? Why do that and play a map that you know that exact combination of players has already played and practiced on, when you could pick something totally different that you in your head have worked out would suit your team well, and give yourself an advantage, so that week that you play this other team, they're not going to have played it until that point. And maybe you're in the second round. Now you've already got a whole week from first round practice on it. You're good to go. Now all you got to do is, so I'm just saying, from my perspective, that's, I think, why you see a lot of that, maps coming in from outside of the season,
Yeah, I
Makes
think it
sense. It
depends
makes
on
sense to me.
it depends on the makeup of your team, I guess. If you feel that you're like a powerhouse squad and you got all the tools and you really were just beating the crap out of people on a certain map, I could see it. But
Yeah.
it's definitely a great strategy for like the sleeper pick to come up and disrupt. And I actually wanted to touch on a couple cool statistics that I was going over with Jay Warrior earlier. He has this huge stat sheet, and he has stats from every single player from every single game ever played in the WDL. And there's 23 playoff games have been played, and 82%, over almost 83% of them, 19 of them have gone to at least 4 rounds, which means that only 4 times has there been a playoff sweep. And then
Wow.
39% of them have gone to 5 rounds. At least
Really?
5 rounds. Yeah.
Those are probably all my games.
Almost
Yeah.
40% of them.
Yep. So the home field, back in the IDL, you only played the one home field map, and that was it. The format that we use in the WDL with the double home field really adds a lot of intrigue to the playoff picture, where even though we've really only ever seen the top team kind of win the league at this point, we have seen a lot of upsets leading up to that game.
Mhm.
And it's only a matter of time until, one of those lower seeds does finally break through, especially since we've gone to 8 teams and talent's spread a little more. But yeah, almost 40% of the games have gone to at least 5 rounds, and one of the games went to 6 rounds. You guys might
Yeah,
recall that one. We
that's
were all
what
in
I-
that.
That's what I was.
Wait. What did you say that last set was?
One game, 4% of the games has gone to 6 rounds.
Okay. That was
And
it. Just one.
It was the game that we were all
Us.
in. Yeah, all
Yeah.
3 of us. Remember, you beat my team. You
I
did an
recall.
upset. You did one of the upsets.
I recall.
You're the longest playoff game, the longest WDL game, and probably the biggest upset of all time. So there you
And
go.
now I'm gonna need surgery on my carpal tunnel. Thanks for that one. No, I was gonna mention about the 5 rounds is like when we picked map 26, and I keep bringing up 26 because we played our bet, like my teams have played our best playoff games on that map. So we were just thinking like, if we get into a situation where we have to go to a 5th round, like the teams that I had, like how do you feel? You got to figure out what your team is best at. So teams were like, chasing, it was mid and D kind of swarming the runner, always chasing back. And we were only scoring like 2 flags around. So you got to figure like, okay, what's going to be our best thing when we got to win. So when you go to a 5th round, if you're the higher seeded team, So there's a little bit of strategy, a lot more strategy involved than it was before, where you're just like, well, I'm going to pick, ZDCTF map 5 is my home field, and we're just going to play that 3 times in a row or whatever. So,
well, what about if you're the top team? I mean, I mean, those stats, like, if you pick the wrong map, even if you just tie the first round, you're automatically in a bad spot because now you have to go play your opponent's round twice. So if you can't sweep your first 2 games, it's the whole
to me twice.
advantage tilts quickly, very quickly. It can happen
Well,
in a matter of minutes.
I think
It's
people.
the.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it's the NBA, it's the NHL, it's the.
It's the robot.
Robot, there he is, Mr. Robot.
Fucking damn it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to win maps on other teams' home fields, and so I have this moment stuck in my head from the stream of SXP versus TDT last fall, where Stark said, "Oh, Bones is a 1-map player," and then we, in 28 seconds, beat TDT on map 21. So I keep that, in the back of my head because you have to. It's my own motivation, but you have to be able to win on another team's home field. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. You can't. I mean, we saw interesting games with you, Ralph. I think it was 32 in another map where you guys would win your home field, and then you'd lose on theirs, and you'd win yours, and you'd lose, and it was just a back and forth thing. So it kind of worked out that way. But
only if you're the top.
Usually,
only if you're the better.
Right.
Yeah.
So usually you gotta win on the other team's map. So
Yeah. Before I left, am I good?
all set.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, it mirrors the NBA, the NHL, and the MLB, right? Where you hear the term thrown out all the time, and they've just lost. They've just
Home court
lost
advantage.
home whatever advantage. Yeah, and it's just one more thing, man.
Right.
It makes this all exciting. I love this format, and I think we all agree. It's been a big boost, and probably a major reason why the playoffs have been as good as they have been, even though we have not yet had an upset, I guess, technically, right, overall.
Technically
have
one, but
only
Not in
the
the
number 1
finals.
seed has won every season except the season where
Ross King.
Water, J Warrior,
the first
and
place frauds. Yeah.
first place frauds. First off, I want to say something real quick since we didn't get to address this earlier. Ross King, amazing captain.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Look at the teams.
Yep.
I mean, list teams that he drafts, and everyone. Well, look at what was it last season? Or the season he went to the final. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the season he went to the finals where he was just laughing on the stream because people were giving him the players he wanted. I mean, look what he did with those teams. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I thought you were calling him the first place fraud because he actually was first place that season and lost to number 2 Water, J Warrior, and K Blair, who really should have been number 1, but Water sat 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I meant to say that earlier. I didn't want to digress from what we're about to talk about, but yeah.
Many a team
Ross
gets
Ross King, man. I mean, captain of the season for me. So okay,
Yeah,
that's it.
I would agree with that too. Actually,
I would like to agree, except I don't know. I think that I've done a pretty good job.
Yeah, we'll see after this
So-
weekend. So, I mean, let's get into the nitty gritty here. So like I said, let's just go really quickly through. GPS picked map 18, Suck picked map 28, TKV map 8, TPT map 2.
Would you like me to say something about why I picked 18?
Well, let's talk about that when we talk about a game. Why don't we just talk about a game?
Okay.
BST picked map 23 and DEM picked map 32. Now, I was going to start the conversation by talking about TPT and TKV because, as I mentioned earlier, I think these maps couldn't be any more different, right? And the game's scheduled first, so that's why I'm talking about it. I listed it here first. Don't worry,
You're
Stab.
smart.
We'll talk about your game.
Sorry, no. Sorry. My bad.
So, what do you guys think? Because map 2, I mean, I've seen everyone complain about this map, and personally, I love it. Like, I've played it a couple times. It's got a lot of history that's really not related to the WDL, but it's kind of an interesting map. And then you've got map 8, which is, playing Jake on map 8 is like, I don't know, you can't stop that guy from scoring. So I'm interested to see what you guys think about this matchup. Ty kind of backed his way into the playoffs, but not, uh, not because they were playing badly. I mean, his team really stepped it up. So I think this could end up being an upset. Like, I really feel like map 8 is a team. I mean, you've got Ty and you've got Donut, who have been playing this for forever. They know map 8, and then map 2. I mean, I just feel like the team that TPT has is totally built for map 2, at least more so than TKV. So, what do you guys think about that?
So,
Go ahead.
well, I agree with you that there is an element of upset here, and the reason why I think that is because of the map pick by TKV, and on paper, this seems like a no-brainer, right? I mean, Jake is excellent at that map. We all know that, and like you said, it's definitely hard to keep Jake from scoring. However, I feel like this is a map, unlike most others in the WAD, in which if you get two really good teams playing each other, it has great potential for ties. And as
Yes.
a team picking a home field, one thing you don't want to do is pick, in my opinion, I mean, you don't want to pick a map where the other team could potentially, by changing their play style, play for a tie and then give themselves an advantage, right? Because tie, then as the team with home field advantage, now you lose your home field advantage if that happens on the first two maps. So if TPT can hold serve on their map, and I think that there's a potential for a tie in map 4, So then again, I don't know if TPT can handle TKV on map 2. Honestly, I think TKV is set up pretty good for that map. Yeah, I do. I think that Zakin, like last year when he kind of came back from his hiatus, he played a really good season, and then this year he's just really stepped it back up to kind of like peak level. Like he's playing at peak level, and I feel like his D there is really good, and then Jake just kind of floats around mid and just does what needs to be done. And I'm very positive that Infer or Godlike, whichever one they choose to go with, will end up being able to just run and frag and grab the flag. And so I think it's going to be very tough for TPT on their home field. So I would are we then throwing out predictions here? Because if we are, I'm going to say that I do predict that TKV, the higher seed, will win. But I think it'll be closer than they think on map 8. I don't know.
So, yeah, if I'm going to weigh in on this real quick, I'm going to just parrot a lot of what you said. I don't think that map 8 is a safe or comfortable pick for anybody in this league at any time ever with the playoff format that we have. Because, I mean, you have two solid defenders. You just hold that score to 0 for the first round. Let your runner just go and hope that maybe he gets lucky and maybe he doesn't. But if he doesn't, you're getting 2 shots on your map. Now, with that said, I don't think that Ty picked map 2 for any meaningful reason. I don't think that TPT is more well equipped to handle any other team on map 2 than anybody else in the league. I think that TKV has shown throughout the season that they are a true contender. They're a top team. They got great pieces. Zakin is playing excellent right now. Like you said, much better than last season since he's come back. Jake is firing on all cylinders still somehow. You know, and they have that dual-headed, beast on offense. They can unleash godlike. He's averaging what I think 1.67 clean captures per game, just from
Damn.
stand to stand. And then Infer, I mean, we've just seen him. It's the tape speaks for itself. He can just let loose as well. So no matter who Jake ends up deploying, either godlike or Infer, I think that um, TPT probably will not win, but I would not fall out of my chair with surprise if Ty somehow continued to fall ass backwards up the playoff ladder, falling up because did it look like he was even going to be in the playoffs? So who knows? And I've certainly underestimated Ty plenty of times in my career.
Let's
So,
just hope
Well-
he doesn't have any conventions to go to this weekend.
Well, I will
True.
totally agree with you guys that TKV has had the more solid season. I mean, they seem to really understand what they're doing. They know how to play with each other. I think that they're more of a team than TPT is. But so in my head, part of why I'm leaning a little bit more towards TPT, even though you said, like you said, Ty didn't necessarily pick map 2 for any particular reason. We know that Ty can't. He just can't. It's not who Ty is. Ty cannot stop running. He can't do it. He can do it for 3 minutes. That's it.
So
Now, when you take
Yeah. Go ahead.
what? Go ahead. Okay, so when you
I
take
just
a
want to
map
jump in.
like,
Can I jump in
fuck.
real quick? I just
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
help you push your point here, which is the Ty can't stop running and he leaves defense. So I'm going to let you finish your point, but I just want to give a stat. Okay, so Jay Warrior provided me with some per minute stats, which we are experimenting with right now. A lot of times we look at per round stats, but they really don't show the whole picture because the WDL, unlike a professional sports game, traditionally is a regulated time. You always play in 60 minutes, 48 minutes, whatever. So since we play variable times, we were looking at it per minute. And offensively, TKV and TPT are actually not too much different per minute. TKV scores 0.358 captures per minute, and TPT scores 3.10. So, TKV is better, but just a little bit. But as far as defense goes, TKV has the best defense in the league, 0.213 caps allowed per minute. So they're only allowing like one capture per 5 minutes. That's pretty good. I mean, TPT isn't even close to that. They're 0.377. So defense is really TPT's problem, and that's because Ty cannot help himself. Continue with your point. I'm sorry. I
So
just had to.
no, I mean, leading into that, so part of my point is that map 2 is such a chaotic map that it's almost impossible to defend on, even when you're trying to defend. And so in my head, I'm thinking that Ty's not going to try to defend at all on that map. I mean, I think Disbarrel should defend, but I think anybody would have a hard time defending that map. So you have to look at how is TPT's offense going to be? So, I mean, Ty's going to be running to the, it's that map is just constantly running and running and running to the flag. You get so many flag touches. You've got Ty working in tandem with either Razor or Donut. I just think that that's a dangerous combination for TKV to have to put up with, especially because, I mean, you have Jake. I mean, I would assume that maybe Zakin would play D, but I just feel like the two attack, as good as Infer and Godlike are, I just feel like Ty and whoever else he uses kind of overshadows Caution and either Infer or Godlike, but not the defensive side of things. So I feel like TPT has the better offense on this map, but TKV has a better defense. So I don't know. I just feel like Ty's strength is creating like look what he did. Map 1. That's it's a really basic map, but some crazy shit can happen there. So Ty is really good on that map. I just feel like map 2 is kind of similar to that. Now map 8, you know, it's hard to stop Jake, but like you said, map 8 is not a good map for anybody to pick because it can just be a stalemate. So I don't know. Part of me thinks TPT can pull it off, but TKV has been the more solid team, and I think they're more of a team than TPT. I mean, TPT, they just picked up Donut. I mean, they lost Ranzer, so they've got a lot of catching up to do. TKV's been intact all season, so I don't know. I just think it's a little bit of a toss up for me. So
I
I
think
don't know.
I think the donut pickup actually makes it more clear. Donut had a great week 4, but if TPT comes out with anything but Razor and Disparrow this tomorrow, I don't think it ends well for them. They need to use that lineup. Uh,
Hmm.
They really didn't get to use that lineup for most of the season, and they had success with it last week. They need to use that lineup. They won their only game with that lineup. They have
Yeah.
to use that lineup.
They're not going to use TMD, right? I wouldn't think so.
We said that
think
for my game.
that-
I don't know,
mean,
man.
You're right.
The fact is that TKV has far and away the best defense in this league right now. Far and away the best defense. The only one that even comes remotely close to them is best ever, and still they're not even close. TKV wins. TKV wins.
I think you guys are probably right. I think they probably do win.
in 5.
I just think it will be interesting if we get a tie on map 8.
Yeah.
So,
We'll
ties
we'll
on map 8.
definitely get a tie on map 8.
yeah. Okay.
All
Maybe
right.
even 3 of them.
I just wanted to rehash your bad
TKV
joke
and
from
5.
earlier.
Hey,
TKV
that
and
was
5.
funny. It was funny the first time. The second time, so let's move on then to the second game, which we have a doubleheader tomorrow. We've got Dam, which is Rude, Stark, Turska, Dosu. Their home field is map 32, and they play against GPS. Our very own Altstab, Denzoa, Clem Hazard, Tony, and Hero. So, interesting about these map choices. Map 32. I think I've played with Rude and Stark on map 32. So, I don't know. For me, I feel like the only chance that they have on this map, because playing against Stab, I mean, map 32 for me is where I really began to respect Stab as a player, because I mean, he was able to shut down me and Ralph, and I mean, I'm not trying to stroke my own ego or anything, or Ralph's ego, but I mean, we're a pretty good combination on offense, and we know, so Stab was able to shut us down on that map, and he's probably the best defender on that map that we have. So, going up against him is going to be difficult if Rude is not running for DEM. And, because having played with Root on that map, I mean, he made some really, I'm not going to try and spoil his strategy, but I don't even know what it is, but the demos are out there. I mean, he made some really interesting rocket jumps, like, things maybe that I had never seen before. So I think it's got to be, like, it has to be Rude versus Stab. But the problem is, who's defending on DEM? I mean,
Okay, so that's very simple.
is it Stark? Because
it should be, and I'm gonna chastise them right now because
they don't practice at
their
all.
record. Well, so that's true, but their record does not indicate how good they should be. For some reason, as if I can, backseat captain that team, they were letting Stark run some weeks, and with the makeup of that team, Stark should be the defender every week. Turska should be the mid every week, and Rude should be the runner every week, and they would clean up. I don't know what they've been doing all season, but if they come out with that formula, it's going to be a tough day for GPS. Is how I feel.
Well, especially on 32, because Rude, I mean, outside of Ralph, Rude is the best runner on that map in my opinion. So, it has to be Rude versus Stab, and if Stark can hold up his end of the, he's just got to be able to. I just don't know. You're right. I don't know what they're going to do, because number one, they come out and I mean, Rude is a good defender. I've used Rude as a defender before, depending on the map, but you know, with the makeup of his team, you're right. I mean, there's no real reason why he would be defending. And I lost my other point, but shit. But yeah, I mean, they got to come out with that lineup, and yeah, I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. Someone else go.
It's the perfect map for that team. It plays to all of their strengths. Do not undersell Turska. I mean, it may have been some time ago, but Turska was one of the greatest runners in Doom CTF, and
yeah, absolutely.
it's not like he to do that. And this is the type of map that also plays to his strength. If Stark can do what he needs to do on the back end, a Rude and Turska tandem run on map 32 is terrifying. I'm glad that they're not going to advance. Whoever wins this game, I'm glad that I don't have to play either of them next week. Yeah, next week.
But no. So what I was going to say was, well, to add on to your point, Turska, I feel like has evolved into an even better mid player.
Mm-hmm.
So I like him as the mid, but their biggest issue so far has been that they don't practice. Now,
yeah,
I played them week 3, and we had some chances to win that game, and we probably should have won that game, but like the first round anyway, and we ended up tying them. But it was almost as if they had not practiced at all during the week, and they were like trying to figure their shit out during round 1, because then, even though I thought the game was close, they outscored us a lot in rounds 2 and 3. So I feel like they're not playing to their full potential, and that's not to take anything away from GPS, because I mean, look at GPS. GPS has kind of like in my head what I would envision as my kind of lineup. I mean, they have 3 people that I feel like can play any position, and so on map 18, I mean that's kind of a nightmare map for anybody. But if GPS can get that map down, I think DEM is in trouble, because you have to know how you're going to play map 18. I mean, you have to have coordination. You have to, I mean, I went into that map thinking, I could put one person on one side and one person on the other as defenders and let one runner go, and we fucking got like, it's just one of those weird maps like map 15 where traditional play styles don't mesh well with it. So they have to practice a lot. And so if they're not practicing, they're going to fall flat on their face with a team like GPS, where they can, if something doesn't work, they can say, oh, okay, Stab, you go run, and Tony, do this, and whatever. They can switch it up. And DEM, I just feel like they're going to fall flat on that one. So,
well, what I will say is that you have been getting home from work very late this week because they have been practicing.
Oh, okay.
So they should be well prepared. Now, as far as GPS goes, before we let Stab take the floor, GPS is the more complete, rounded team. They are one of the premier defenses this season, in my opinion. They've been holding teams to, very low captures against them per minute, and they have a pretty decent offense. It's not the top, but it is the type of offense that can churn out a win with persistence, and consistency. So I don't want to sound like I'm counting GPS out. Now, if they come out and play like they did in week 5, it's going to be a bad day for them. If they play more like they did during other weeks of the season where they had success, and obviously Tony is going to be a critical component to that.
Yeah.
Then they're going to have a lot better day. But if it looks like week 5, it will not be a good day. So I'm gonna let Stab talk, but I'm gonna give my prediction.
Thank you.
And that is going to be Dem in 4.
And I'm gonna agree with your prediction, actually. So.
All right, it's been a while since I talked to my robot.
Yep.
All right, well, you guys talk for like a couple seconds here.
Okay. Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
What else can I say? Dem in 4.
Well, yeah, I mean, so
I just
that these matchups, like, it's going to be tough for everybody this week.
Yeah, it's a big difference in play styles between
I'm
teams,
back.
Okay, so go ahead.
Well, I don't have much to say about my own game, right? I can't give away anything.
Right, sure.
One of the reasons that we picked 18, right?
What's your strategy?
Win.
But yeah, we felt that 18, played to our strengths, and it wasn't played in the season. And I played it last season. I played pretty well there with my team, and so yeah, that's why we went that route. I know that Dem's going to be a handful. My team is we were 3-2. I mean, we were one win away from being tied for first. So, I feel like we can beat anybody on a good day, but we have bad days. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, we didn't have our full. I drafted my team as Denzoa as my second and Tony as my third. I think that the two of us only played a couple games together this season. That's happened to me before. The season that I went to the finals, I didn't have Dragon and Yorick together with me for more than I think 2 games in the regular season, and then we kind of pulled it together during the playoffs. So, obviously being the optimist, that's kind of what I'm hoping is going to happen here. We'll see. I don't know. I just have a lot of confidence in myself, Denzoa, and Tony against anybody. Honestly, we're pretty we're pretty solid. And
Team of grizzled vets.
yeah, right. I guess I feel kind of bad, almost like I'm the one captain that didn't end up with somebody on my team that was like a new guy. It's all lifers. But anyway,
Well, your opponent is a mere image of lifers.
that's true. That's true. That's kind of cool. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't have a prediction or anything. I just I obviously I think it could go either way. I don't think there's a clear cut here like you guys do, but I don't know.
Yeah, it could certainly.
I like my chances. Yeah.
Well, there's one thing that I'll say about Tony that I think because he's not so visible in the community, and this has been the case for years, I mean, he certainly doesn't always play to his full potential, but that's, I think he's extremely underrated as a mid player. He'll find a spot in a map that will really piss people off, and he'll just sit there and kill you over and over. I mean, map 23, he'll just walk up to the entrance and kill, and I'm
That's
like,
special.
it is his specialty, and it's I think that that's something that people don't, they'll look and they'll say, oh wow, Rude, Stark, Turska, but I mean, Tony is just in my mind just as strong as anybody in this game. So I think he's kind of the key, the glue that'll hold GPS together. And I just don't think that he gets enough credit for what he does.
People thought that
I think Stab is the glue. He's the gorilla glue. You got to bring all the pieces together and make them stick.
gorilla glue.
And I look forward to seeing if you could do it tomorrow night.
I just want one last thing. I just want to say that
At
9 o'clock Eastern.
Go ahead, Stab.
Go ahead.
Well, a lot of people didn't think I had a good draft. Apparently, I don't know. I just saw some of that said on IRC.
Have you seen my draft?
But I mean, I was ecstatic because I got 2. What I had. What's that? I'm Robot.
I didn't mean my entire. No, I didn't mean about my entire team. I was talking about the
Cookies,
fact that I drafted Cookies. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
I had, in my opinion, 2 of the top 10 players available, and that's the way it's played out for me. Every time that the 3 of us have been on the field, good things have happened. So I'm happy to be the underdog once again. I'm cool with that.
I don't think you're an underdog. I think it's a pick 'em.
I think most people think of us as the underdog. As you
If
guys,
I was running a sports book, I would make you the favorite. I'm just going gut here. Prove me wrong.
You guys just predicted that I was going to lose, for the record.
Yeah, I know, but all signs point the other way, so it's okay.
All right. Well, I mean, I think we got 2 really exciting games tomorrow on 4 very interesting, very different maps. Is there anything else that we want to talk about? I mean, we'll be discussing this probably next week. After the games happen. So, anything that we missed about these games or the regular season that you wanted to mention before we sign off here?
I just want to mention that the winner of the map or the game we were just talking about, Dem at GPS, will go on to face number 1 BST next week, and the winner of TPT at TKV will go on to face Suck the next week. So those will be probably
And
yeah. Go ahead.
and we don't have Jahar for the next couple weeks. He's at like DreamHack and something else. So anybody that wants to stream a game, let us know, and we will gladly accept.
I heard that the creators of Barney and Friends are looking for something to do.
Anyway, so yeah, me either. Yeah, we need streamers, we need captains, we need money. Send me your money, people.
Yeah, give us some money so we can hire Sean back.
Yeah, you guys want Otimex the next version to come out? Just send me a couple G notes and I'll pay the guy. He'll come back and do it. But anyway, just to appease the few people that were complaining recently. All right, that's all.
People are always complaining. But yeah, this has been WDL Radio. Thank you, AltStab, Ralphus. And we will see everybody next week after all of our games have been played. See you then.
Peace.